We chant the Gatha on opening the sutras. This Dharma, incomparably profound and minutely subtle, is rarely encountered, even in hundreds of thousands of millions of ages. Now we see it, hear it, hold and maintain it. May we completely realize the true mind of all Buddhas. So, gather up a nice comfy way to sit, relax, and listen to our good friend Bryant as he expounds on his experience with the Dharma.
I feel like saying, as Alfred Hitchcock did when he opened his shows, good evening, because where I'm at, it's evening. And that's a good segue into the opening of my talk. Most bad writing starts with a cliche sentence, like, it was a dark and stormy night. Well, some stories of great value also start that way too. And so it just so happens that this story, to start my talk, starts exactly that way. It was a dark and stormy night. It was a dark night when a ship from the Korean peninsula docked in the Chinese harbor of Tanhang Castle. Two men, aged 44 and 36, disembark that ship and start on a journey down the road on foot. As they walk, a storm comes on and they're met with strong winds and heavy rain. In the darkness, they find a shelter for the night in an underground shelter. The older man, being thirsty during the night, finds what he thinks is a gourd full of water and drinks from it. The water tastes sweet. He drinks it all down. The next morning, in the light of day, both men see that they had actually spent the night in a burial chamber. And the one of the men, whose name was Wanyo, realized that what he thought was a gourd full of sweet water was, in fact, a human skull, and it was filled with putrid water and maggots. Well, this caused in him a great realization. He realized that when he did not know what it was he was drinking from, he felt refreshed, and yet when he found out in the light of day, he felt disgusted and discomforted. He realized that everything, all of our experience, is created by the mind. This realization reminded him of a passage he had read. All the three worlds are illusion. All is mere fabrication of the mind. What it caused in him at that moment was great joy, and he felt like dancing and singing. But the passage that he had read, which had inspired him, was from a text called Awakening of Faith in the Mahayana. This text, Awakening of Faith in the Mahayana, is a very short but very densely packed philosophical outline and encapsulation of all of Buddhist Mahayana thought at the time, and it was hugely influential in East Asia. One of the best things about it that it provides is an easy way to remember the whole thing. Buddhism has lots of lists. In fact, it's famous for its numbered lists. Everything, it seems, in Buddhism can be found somewhere on a numbered list, sometimes multiple times on multiple lists. In the case of Awakening of Faith, it has a great outline that can be encapsulated as simple as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a pretty easy mnemonic device to remember the whole thing. Kind of like coat hangers, you can hang all the rest of the teachings on, a great memory device. The structure of the teachings in the Awakening of Faith are in the form of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The first, number 1, is one mind. Now, what that refers to is one mind of suchness. And this concept was and still is a hugely foundational and influential concept in most of East Asian Buddhism, and in fact, almost all of Buddhism. Another text that was very influential starts out its first chapter saying that all things are one mind, the mirror of Zen. Another Zen master, Huangpo, talks about one mind. An earlier thinker, actually somewhat around that time, plus or minus a few hundred years, Vasubandhu, an Indian monk and philosopher, was hugely instrumental in coming up with not only a Buddhist psychology and explanation of it, developments on it called the Abhidharma, but later something called Yogacara, otherwise known as Chittamatra, which means mind only. And mind only in Vasubandhu's ideas, it's quite an involved topic, but one of the ways you can boil it down is that the only way we can know reality is through the mind. There may be an objective reality outside the mind, but we can't know it other than through the mind. And so one interpretation of mind only is that everything that we experience in our lives, when we meditate, when we drive a car, when we eat dinner, everything is only knowable through our minds. Earlier in the Pali Suttas, the Buddha gave a very short talk called the Sava Sutta, which means the all, in which he talked about what is the all. The all is the eyes and eye contact, the ears, ear contact, the nose, nose contact, touch, basically the five senses, and the mind and objects of mind. He called this the sensorium, otherwise known as the all. And his point is that all of reality comes to us through these six sense doors, through these six entrances. That's the only way we know of things, is through this. And to me, that is a great complementary teaching to the mind only idea. Anyway, so this is item number one in the awakening of faith, the idea of one mind. Number two is the two aspects of one mind. The first aspect is the mind in terms of the absolute, which in Buddhist lingo is generally called emptiness. Emptiness is also can be called suchness, but in awakening of faith, they put a twist on that. The twist is that emptiness in general in Buddhism means that all things are empty of inherent existence. And the twist that awakening of faith puts on that is that there is an absolute and is the emptiness of all things, and yet there is one thing that is not empty because it is full of certain excellent attributes, that being the mind. Then the second of the two aspects of one mind is the mind in terms of the relative existence or phenomena. And that in the text is a quite lengthy section describing the 8 consciousnesses and storehouse consciousness, the 8th, which harks back to Vasubandhu's mind-only theory as to how reality is created for us. Next on our journey, we have the three greatnesses, or the 3 great things about suchness. So what are the 3 great things about suchness? Well, the first is the essence of suchness. It's great, and when I say great, and again, Mahayana, the word Maha means great. Yana means vehicle, and so the teachings of Mahayana are teachings of the great vehicle, and great in this sense is not big. It doesn't mean that it's better than your vehicle, although some usages of the term in colloquial terms took that on, because they started describing the older teachings as the Hinayana, or the lesser vehicle, greater and lesser. But what Maha really refers to is greatness in terms of the absolute, in terms of ultimate reality. Mahayana philosophy, Buddhism, talks about ultimate reality in a way that the original teachings in the Theravada or Hinayana did not. This is sort of like going from the smaller view to the much expanded view, or an expanded application of the teachings. So the three great things, or the three maha, great things about suchness, the first is the essence of suchness. Just the fact of it, just the realization of it, is an ultimate thing, and is hugely beneficial in our practice, and is the whole point, essentially, of practice of the Dharma. The second of the great things is the attributes of suchness, the excellent qualities. And this is one of the twists that the Awakening of Faith puts on sort of a development, or its interpretation of the emptiness teachings. It says that suchness actually does have some very excellent qualities. I won't list them here, because got to get to the rest of the outline. But the third greatness is the influence of suchness. And this section gets into the bodies of the Buddha, which is a whole other area of theory that talks about the result of practice. The result of realization is the three bodies, which really are one body, but they differentiate in terms of the realization of suchness or emptiness, the Dharmakaya, the rebirth symbolically or experientially in a pure land, Sambhogakaya, or energy body. And then there's the Nirmanakaya, which is essentially our physical body, that's the vehicle that allows us to do all these things, that sort of manifests in this world to give us this opportunity. Those are the three greatnesses about suchness. Moving on to number 4 are the 4 faiths. So here we have the 3 traditional refuges of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, but they're adding a 4th item, which is at the top of their list. Number 1, the first of the 4 faiths, is faith in ultimate reality, or suchness. So an important aspect of this is that traditionally Buddhism and Zen have talked about the necessity of 3 things to progress in your practice: great doubt, great courage, and great faith. And so faith does come to play, especially because suchness and emptiness are not things that are readily visible. They're more something that is intuited. And so a certain aspect of faith is very valuable when coming to play in one's progression towards liberation. Finally, on our tour of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 outline are the 5 practices. Now here, they take kind of a shortcut, because it really should be 6 practices. And what they are the transcendent paramitas. But in the Awakening of Faith, they have combined the last 2 paramitas of meditation or concentration, and the 6th one of wisdom or insight, into one, which has 2 parts. So it's a little bit of a cheat. And my suspicion is that the author of this outline just wanted to make it numerically work out. But it really doesn't matter, because of the 5 paramitas, the first, as we all may know, is generosity. The second is morality, sila, which is, the typically understood as the observation of the precepts. whether it be the 5 precepts or the 10 or the 16. The third is patience, transcendent patience, or ksanti. The fourth is virya, translated as energy or zeal, that is required to maintain our practice and our efforts in the world. And now we come to the final, which is sort of the two-parter, which is really the meat and bones of the practice. Although the other paramitas are absolutely legitimate practices in their own right, and all of them can lead to awakening and liberation, which is why they are called paramitas. One translation of paramita is vehicle that brings us to the other shore. So the last two are concentration, otherwise known as samatha, shamatha, which can lead us to a calm concentration or type of meditation. And then the other half of that, the other part, usually done after the calmness has been achieved, is what's called the vipassana, or the insight, or the clear seeing meditation. And this is the prajna, or wisdom component of the 5 or 6 paramitas. So as a practice, even the awakening of faith is mirroring what many other traditions in Buddhism, not just Zen, Chan, or Seon, have done, but many of them arrive at some version of the calming meditation and the insight meditation, where we look at reality as it is and just observe it and see it clearly with wisdom. So there you have it. Simple as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to sign off now, and peace.
Thank you, Bryant. I have a joke about that, of course, which I will share later. So we'll have 15 minutes of seated meditation. We'll chant the Heart Sutra. Mahaprajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva when practicing deeply the Prajna Paramita perceives that all five skandhas are empty and is saved from all suffering and distress. Shariputra, form does not differ from emptiness. Emptiness does not differ from form. That which is form is emptiness. That which is emptiness, form. The same is true of feelings, perceptions, impulses, consciousness. Shariputra, all dharmas are marked with emptiness. They do not appear or disappear, are not tainted or pure, do not increase or decrease. Therefore in emptiness no form, no feelings, perceptions, impulses, consciousness, no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no color, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object of mind, no realm of eyes, and so forth until no realm of mind consciousness, no ignorance, and also no extinction of it, and so forth until no old age and death, and also no extinction of them, no suffering, no origination, no stopping, no path, no cognition, also no attainment, with nothing to attain. The bodhisattva depends on prajna paramita, and the mind is no hindrance. Without any hindrance, no fears exist. Far apart from every perverted view, one dwells in nirvana. In the three worlds, all Buddhas depend on prajna paramita and attain anuttara samyak sambodhi. Therefore know that prajna paramita is the great transcendent mantra, is the great bright mantra, is the utmost mantra, is the supreme mantra, which is able to relieve all suffering and is true, not false. So proclaim the prajna paramita mantra. Proclaim the mantra which says gate gate para gate para samgate bodhi swaha gate gate para gate para samgate bodhi swaha gate gate para gate para samgate bodhi swaha. Johnson will do the personal dedications. You're muted.
All sentient beings are one seamless body and pass quickly from birth to death. We remember those who cared for us and are gone, those who are ill, those who are at war, who are hungry, and who are in pain. May they heal and have peace. We especially dedicate our service to Mike Gingy Wood.
Guys,
All Buddhas. Robert, did you
I just throw in a word for Bryant. He just had to run off to see his dad in the emergency room.
Ah,
oh,
and
um,
we'll dedicate that merit
for,
to
yeah, for Mr.
Mr.
Guy. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all honored ones, Bodhisattva Mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, Maha Prajna Paramita. Thanks, Robert, for catching that.
Life and death are of supreme importance. Time passes swiftly by, and opportunities to awaken are greatly lost. Strive to realize your true nature. Do not squander your time by night or day. I'll extinguish the candles. And thank you for joining us tonight. Bryant, wish you the best. Wish your father the best.
Thank you.
And,
I'm currently in the car driving on the expressway.
I see. Well,
So
be
I
careful
gave the
yourself.
talk and I dashed. Robert, I want to thank you very much for catching that and including my father. That was very, very wonderful of you and of all of you. Thank you for including him in your thoughts. It's not, just so you know, it's a cut on his leg, which hasn't been healing well. And so today it looked blue and he decided to drive himself to the emergency room, but my mom called me in a panic like 10 minutes before the talk was supposed to start, uh, telling me all this. So life is what happens while you're making other plans.
Uh-huh.